Well, first thoughts are, we had good footy chats because of the week break all around. Everyone wants to talk about what's coming next Thursday and next Friday night. In particular with Collingwood and Carlton, the build-up's huge. There are things that you can say are going to happen. This is, this team's going to play like this, and this is what's going to happen. This is what we think will happen here. This is what we think will happen there. But there are things that are just immeasurables. So I just wanted to ask people out there, and I think it's best summed up when you go to the footy and you're watching the game and you go, oh, we're on today.
Yep.
We are
Everyone
on.
knows that feeling, don't they?
What is it that makes you think you are on? Because I think there are things that you cannot measure, like effort, leadership. One of the boys at the back, Sammy, said the language of your coach. Is he upbeat? Is he confident? The Luke Beveridge one we had last week where
trepidation.
He said,
don't want any trepidation.
No trepidation in September.
You don't want to be on edge.
So I wonder what the people see as those immeasurables, the intangibles of footy that you can't bank on.
I love it. 1300 736 736. When you're at the footy and you say to yourself, the little voice inside your head says, we're on today, or you turn to whoever you're at the footy with, you go, geez, you see that? We're on. What is it? What is it for you?
What is it?
What are the immeasurables? I got one.
Yes.
When a player nails a reasonably straightforward shot for goal early in a game. So Brody Mychek is lining up from 38 metres out, slight angle early on in the first quarter, and he just nails and goes bang, and the Collingwood army just go through the roof. Because very easy to miss those.
So momentum's one.
Early in the game.
You can't measure momentum. We say, they've kicked 5 in a row, but how do you get to those 5? What is momentum? How do you build it? So I just thought we'd open it up to the listeners this morning. What are those things when you're sitting at the footy?
When Jake Lever comes from the back of the pack and he nails the fist through the ball and it goes over the boundary line, rather than it getting out the back and Bobby Hill streams onto the footy, his defenders letting the ball. They're just little things like that.
Hands and eyes. We do with the Ds a lot.
They do.
There's the organisation, communication.
Excellent.
You can't bank on it.
Hey, I thought we'd keep ourselves accountable this morning.
Oh, no. What have we done?
What I went back and did yesterday, I tracked down our pre-season predictions. Now, I was very reluctant to do any sort of pre-season prediction.
You didn't do it?
No, actually, I did it for one.
You did it for another paying member.
For one employer.
Yeah. What were you doing with that? Will that be reviewed, do you think, at the end of the season?
I hope not. What I was asked to do from The Age was predict the Brownlow, the rising star, story of the season, who was on the rise, the biggest slider, the headline you won't see, and the fans' biggest gripe, as well as the ladder position from 1 to 18. Gee, I got some wrong.
We all get them wrong. That's why they're hard to do.
I had Geelong winning it again.
Oh, you said everyone else was playing
Everyone
for
was
second.
playing for second. They didn't make the 8. So that was good. I had Brisbane second and Melbourne third. So I'll take that as a win. We got the Dogs wrong, both of us.
Yeah, I had the Dogs high up too. I had the Dogs 5th.
Yeah, I had the Dogs in 4th.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't get Fremantle. I had them in the 8. I had Collingwood and Adelaide in 8th position.
Gee, stiff with Adelaide.
Didn't have my Port Adelaide in the top 8. I had them in 11th spot. They made the finals, clearly the top 4, so I got them wrong. Everything else was pretty good, apart from the Saints. I had them in the bottom 4, and they made the finals. For you, Kingy, what was the biggest one you got? You got some right, and you're actually pretty accurate.
I got Richmond at 3 wrong. I got the Dogs at 5 wrong. Melbourne and Brisbane I was pretty happy with.
Yep.
I had Collingwood at 4. I was a believer in Collingwood.
You were from the start.
Everyone was talking about their close wins last year.
You had the Blues in.
I had the Blues in. I thought Vossi was doing a great job during pre-season. I did tip Harry Mackay for the Coleman. That was a setback.
What you did nail was you had the biggest slider. This is for the Herald Sun. You had Freo.
Yeah. I wasn't a fan of how they played. And I think that'll be a discussion for the off-season too, won't it?
Yeah.
How they actually look next year, how they play next year will be a fascinating. So I had Melbourne winning it and Collingwood as runners-up. And I reckon 2 weeks in I tweeted and you hung shit on me on the footy show about it.
And you had...
I'm keeping the receipts. I haven't seen that segment since.
Yeah, I know. It hasn't...
Has it surfaced?
I've just got a little insight. Might be coming back for 1 week only this week.
Oh, have you got someone?
I've got someone in the...
You're not looking at him, are you?
No.
No. Thank
but
God.
you didn't have any... No love for Hawthorn. You had Hawthorn winning the Wooden Spoon.
Well, they weren't far off it. were
Nah, well, they are pretty good, though.
they? I couldn't. I refused to put
So
North.
what I want to ask the question on the IMAR Insurance Open line, 1300 736 736, what was the pre-season prediction you got right, and what was the pre-season prediction you stuffed up? Let us know your thoughts. Don't forget, My Cruises Friday FOMO offer will be announced soon. Stick around to hear it in just a moment's time. The Eagles are sticking by Adam Simpson, Kingy. You and I probably disagree on that. But just your overall observations of the way that it has played out and the club's decision to eventually stand by Adam, and what needs to happen now that they've made that call.
What needs to? Well, they got a commitment. When you sit down 12 months ago and say, "This is our plan. This is the roadmap out of where we are post a premiership era, and now a bit of trauma. This is the roadmap." So they did that. They did that 12 months ago. So you can't balk because it's maybe come a fraction early, and they had no senior players through the course of this year. So if they sacked him, they sacked him. They're in these positions to make those decisions.
Were you thinking it was heading that way?
I think it was on a knife's edge.
Yeah.
I think it was on a knife's edge. But ultimately, they'd made a commitment to the roadmap.
How taxing, like, I've got no how he would be handling the season and the mental toll it's taken. Are you concerned that trauma you speak of may have lasting effects?
No, not lasting effects. No, he's a strong dude.
Yeah.
He is a strong
He must
man.
be.
Yeah. I think in the end, and this is where in the next couple of weeks when we talk to Wolsey, I would love to ask Wolsey, I think in the end it's not the coach that gets worn out. It's the family.
Yeah.
It starts to affect those around them, those they love, and they say, well, is this worth it in the end? Well, I think really, we all know that probably the binding contract held firm and was probably the deciding factor in him keeping his job. Because if he had the 6-month payout or the 3-month payout, whatever it is, he'd be gone. So I think the Coaches Association now need to say, well, this is saving our own. There's no way they should be signing these other forms of contract now, the standard working arrangement.
Ridiculous rule and clause in the game's history, I reckon, that you can sign a coach for 5 years but only pay out 6 months of it. We've spoken to Alistair Nicholson about that. Clearly it's an issue, but
he really didn't have an
no,
answer.
I don't think they've got any power to change that.
They have to merge with the Players Association.
I would have
some
thought
strength.
They need some strength.
They're the
and
toothless
power.
tiger.
They are. Anyway,
So you think they've done the right thing with Simo? Or
no,
not?
I don't. I think they need a change, a circuit breaker.
Why?
I don't. I think the standards have slipped, and I think he's been very loyal to those premiership players who have underperformed and underdelivered, and maybe he has to because of the list situation. But I just think something has to change. Like, you just can't keep turning up.
Did you see
with
the
those
difference
results
when McGovern was in as opposed to
But
when he
I
wasn't?
saw
So senior
him
players.
get 9 kicked on him by Walker in the last round. It was awful. So I don't know what happens now. To me, is going to be another. What's going to change there next year?
What's going to change? Well, don't we say this about every team that's coming out of a slump? It's hard. It's bloody hard to get off the bottom of the table.
Yeah.
It's very hard. And most teams that are going down there are getting stuck for 2 or 3 years. They've got another 12 months there.
At least, yeah.
I think they'd win. How many games next year would they win, do you think?
You would hope 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Six would be a pass. If he wins north of 6, they're ahead of time. If he doesn't, he's probably gone.
Yeah, I just don't want it to be another wasted year, and you get to the halfway point of next year and we're still having the same discussion about Adam Simpson.
They're all wasted years when you're down the bottom.
But I wouldn't think Hawthorn had a wasted year this year. I think there's
we're going big on Hawthorn.
No, well, would you not think
How far away are Hawthorn from...
Well, but all of a sudden you're going, okay, well, you can see Newcomb and Day and Ward and McKenzie, and if they get Henry in, if they get, I don't know, Bailey Smith in, all of a sudden you go, okay, we can go from 7 to 10 and you're not that far away. Like Adelaide, we're starting to see it. I mean, it's taken 4 years, but you're starting to see.
The big jump is from 11 to 14.
Yeah.
That's the hardest jump in footy.
But you can't give up. Like, you've got to work your way
No
out.
one's given
You've got
up.
to do it with energy. And
No one's given up, are
Yeah.
they? Who's given up?
it felt to me at times West Coast had given up this year.
Oh, they were very young. Gee whiz. Yeah, and you know what? When you're losing, you wear all this feedback. You have to. There's no other option. But I think he's a super coach, and until he's ready to leave, or they have an awfully poor start next year, they'll make a decision. If he has a poor start next year, they make the decision. But they committed to this roadmap, so see it through.
Who's in the gun this week? Of course, no football, but we can come up with any person or club or fallout for the season to put in the gun. But what we thought we would do is revisit some of our previous suggestions.
They've done it right, haven't they?
Yeah, because otherwise it sort of gets lost. I guess it started with me putting Jeremy Cameron in the gun and he came out and kicked 7.
That's a good start, isn't it? I put Pendles in the gun and he came out and had 35.
He was
2 weeks
good.
in a row.
So last week you put Cody Waitman.
I thought he was okay.
In the gun?
Hit the scoreboard. I didn't think he was far from the worst. He had a pretty good night.
And I had Todd Marshall in the gun, and he remains in the gun.
He's always in the gun.
He didn't play last week. He was a late withdrawal for that game against Richmond, but so reliant on what he will need to produce for Port Adelaide to have any shot in this final series. And, he needs to deliver because far too often he doesn't.
Who have you got today?
It's a bit of a fallout from the season, and I've got your man, and you've been big on this all year.
Here's my man.
I've got your man, Aaron Norton, in the gun.
Aaron Norton.
I think we speak. His reputation far exceeds his performance, Aaron Norton. So these are the players that kicked more goals than Aaron Norton this year. Curnow, Walker, Larkey, Green, Oscar Allen, Charlie Cameron, Jeremy Cameron, Joe Danaher, Langford, Hawkins missed a lot of footy, Luke Bruce and Brody Mychek. Jai Miss kicked 3 less goals than Aaron Norton. Ollie Henry 3. Ben King missed a lot. He kicked 40 and Norton kicked 44. So if Curnow kicks 78, Hawkins has every bit the amount of ability that Curnow has, I think, or near enough to that athletically, and he's nearly kicked double the amount of goals. So Aaron Norton is in the gun. He needs to come out next year and target 70 goals. Kicking 44 and taking 1 or 2 contested marks a game is not enough for a player with that much ability. So he's in the gun.
I was going to go one way in the gun, but I might change tack.
You having second thoughts?
I'll tell you who's in the gun. The list management committee at the Kangaroos.
Right.
I think this is the biggest decision they've had to make for some time to either look at an option to trade Taron Thomas or to just invest and keep. And straighten up and go and become the player we all think you're going to become at the Kangaroos, not at the next club. If he goes, he's going to be a good player wherever he goes.
So you would keep him?
I don't have the answer. I think they have the information that we don't know outside looking in. There'll be no wrong decision and there'll probably be no right decision, depending on which way you want to look at it. Like he will go, if he say he went to the Sydney Swans, say he went to Essendon, a club that play a bit of freewheeling footy, he'd be a good player. He'd be a very good player. Now, what level of good player? Will he ever be in your All-Australian discussion with your those 3 calls you have a year, which are really busy for you? Will he be there? I don't know. But he's got that capability. He's got that talent level. So do they keep him or do they look to trade?
So if Sydney came to you, you're the North Melbourne list manager, you're Brady Rawlings, and they said, pick 12 for Taron Thomas. You're North. Are you saying yes or no? He was a pick, what? He was about to pick 8.
Yeah, he was a
lot of water's gone
pick.
under the bridge since then.
It caused a bit of trauma because they had to get rid of the first round pick, which was Pollock in the end. So this situation has been an unmitigated disaster. I probably would.
I would too.
Yeah, I think
one mistake in this offset and he's done. He'll never play again. So the risk to and the temptation of the off-season period, which is a long time for players like that, one error and he won't play again. So
in the gun is the list. Whoever says in the end, whoever makes the final call, yes or no, and I don't know whether that's Brady Rawlings or that's Alistair Clarkson or who it is, but that decision is in the gun.
Dave Barham was interesting when he came in with Gary and Tim, the Essendon chairman, during the week, and Gary said to him, because he was speaking about Adrian Dodoro on the pressure that he's under, who gets the final say on those things? And Dave Barham said, well, I don't actually know. It's got to be the list. It's got to be the list manager, doesn't it? The list boss that says yes.
I think it'd be different at different clubs, wouldn't it?
Mm.
I mean, it depends what sort of trust levels you've got and how you're structured. I think if the coach really wanted something, it would happen.
I think
wouldn't
the
it?
coach would have the final
In the
say.
end, he gets the flick because of the list.
Yeah.
So you would want the final say.
I don't know if the coach is fully across what's coming next, the young players that they've watched all year, their draft situation.
Yeah, I think they're across most
You
things.
think they're across most
Well,
things?
you'd want to be. There's not a lot you can do to change the business.
Hard for them to be out there watching these youngsters run around when they're trying to coach the team, though.
No, but they've got months to see vision.